So if you ever go back and watch some of the old technology that Christopher started off with, like this giant mechanical page turner that turned one page of a book for him at a time, and now how he's accessing everything electronically, he's great. Sadie Paulson is another individual with a physical disability that utilizes switch access very proficiently. She also is a consultant, as is Christopher. If you want to learn about switch access yourself, they've both written a few books that are available for free on iBooks. And here is Carolyn. Now, Carolyn specifically uses the TechnoShield, which is evolved into an even smaller device now and capable of more things, including environmental control and things that individuals want to be doing on a daily basis as much as possible. I think we're freezing with our videos here. There we go, catching up. So again, the TechnoShield has evolved to the Tekla E, but I still like this video just to show you the very basics if you're not familiar with switch control, about, just in regard to how much is available as far as access, and not to disregard someone with a physical disability in regards to using a tablet or a device, because with someone who is proficient and knowledgeable of switch access, many AT professionals are, and you can go so in depth with switch access, from very basic for communication, but also, again, like I said, opening doors, turning on lights, closing things like curtains, and things of that nature. So just in regards to knowing about the options for someone who needs switch access, that's available and built in and can work with different switch interfaces. That can be really powerful. And as he mentioned in that video, I have one particular user who does utilize a wheelchair, and he uses the TechnoShield, and he actually uses his joystick as the mouse. So his joystick, when he's not driving his wheelchair, is what he uses instead of a switch to go through his iPad and to click on the apps and to open those things, and then he's using speech to text. He actually also has a very faint voice, so he's using speech to text with the voice amplification system, and he's able to control using Siri or using speech to text to send emails, text messages, and things like that with his joystick as well when he's not driving his wheelchair. So a combination of different things can be really supportive for individuals with a physical disability. So going into Google, as I mentioned, the Google apps and extensions, when you're in the Google Chrome browser, and I'm on a typical Windows laptop, you could also be on a Mac. And in the Google Chrome browser, there's an app store, the web store, the Chrome web store. Some of you may already be familiar. My mouse is over the little icon that says apps, little square mini squares, or it looks like a waffle to some people. the same icon over here to the right. I do have apps that I have downloaded, and I have extensions. You get both the apps and extensions from the Chrome Web Store. If you don't see the icon for the Chrome Web Store, you can simply just do a search for Google Chrome Web Store and you'll get to the same place. And you really can search by the feature that the individual needs. So I do have individuals who are using apps and extensions for visual support, which I'm going to show you, access to the font like high contrast. I have individuals using extensions for mind mapping and brainstorming. There's some great mind mapping and brainstorming tools. And creating graphs, bar graphs, circle graphs, they're all free here and very robust. So they're low cost or free, of course, but still really work well. They're things like scheduling and reminders, absolutely. Google Keep and a few others. Remind, there's quite a few options there for digital agendas and things of that nature. You can also search for features like text-to-speech. There's at least 6 or 7 free text-to-speech extensions if they need to have the website read out loud or information from a PDF. Claro Read is one example that I'll show you that's free for text-to-speech, for PDFs or websites, as well as providing word prediction in a Google Doc. So it doesn't have to be costly and it can still work really well. I'm just going to put in text-to-speech as an example. So you can see just a few of the options here that they have provided as suggestions. And if you don't have one and you want it, if you don't have text-to-speech, the second one, and you want it, you just simply click on the plus, add to Chrome. Testing my visual motor skills here today. And add text-to-speech, add extension. And now you see it's been added and the little icon for text-to-speech is in the top right-hand corner. That's where my extensions are. So apps show up on your main app page and really work best on the Chromebooks. A few of them will work on the laptops now, but extensions will work on all devices, the Chromebooks, the laptops. These Google Chrome extensions that you get from the Chrome Web Store don't work on the Apple devices. So we just went through all the great ones for Apple and iOS and Android. But these Google Chrome ones are for laptops, Mac or PC, or Chromebooks if they are still using a Chromebook. So I'm just going to go to a typical website. And I'm looking at the screen to control the mouse because it's not reflected on my screen here, just so that you're aware. So if I want to use an extension while I'm on the website for researching or email, etc., document, Word document, Google Doc, if we're in Google, you can get some of these same features certainly in Word Doc as well, 365. But if I want to use these extensions while I'm on the internet in Google Chrome, I can use them from clicking on the symbol for the particular extension. One of the extensions I'm going to show you first is called Extensity. And ignore the time here. That's East Coast time, just so you know I'm not holding you past lunch. Extensity looks like a little yin-yang, the little icon there. I'm thinking maybe my Wi-Fi is not so great right now. You do need access to the internet to use the Chrome apps and extensions, which is different from software, of course. Let's give this a, oh, there we go. Okay, so Extensity gives me a list of all of my extensions and my apps. It's free, and what I like about Extensity is you can see how many extensions I have, of course, and I don't need to have them all open and running at the same time. Certainly that could be distracting. It can slow down my computer, and it's also something that's not necessary. So you can have 1 or 2 extensions running at one time by using Extensity. I like that it puts them in alphabetical order so I can find things quickly, and I can turn them on and turn them off as I need them. So I can pull up my Extensity and I can turn on a couple of extensions that I want to show you. I'm going to turn on high contrast, and I'm also going to turn on Visor. So as I mentioned, just as they are reading, researching, or in a document, if they need access to this text, similar to the built-in invert colors on the iPad, high contrast is a free extension if they need that high contrast or the text to be white on black or another color similar to a CCTV. So I can click on high contrast, the little icon there, and enable it. And now you can see I have the option currently on inverted color. I can also choose yellow on black, high contrast, increased contrast rather, inverted grayscale, or typical. I can also set it as a default scheme, so as I go from website to website, I don't need to keep turning it on. It's going to remember my preferences, or I can forget the site customizations. Oftentimes, again, just a learner who needs that simple high contrast, sometimes it's built in as a shortcut that you can teach them for high contrast, but sometimes an extension to have further options like yellow on black or grayscale is really supportive for some of our individuals with a visual impairment. Visor is the one that looks like a little computer screen or monitor. And with Visor, you can provide a mouse spotlight while they're reading, as well as a color overlay. So oftentimes, whether it's to keep track, pay attention, visually see, oftentimes we have individuals who prefer a specific color background, and the mouse spotlight is also nice for keeping track of where they are on a page, whether they're reading or in a document typing. And I like that you can change the color here. So you can see how you can change the scale of the colors, certainly a combination of colors, to offer visually, again, what that particular user needs. You can change the transparency, and the size of the mouse spotlight. So paragraph at a time, sentence at a time, etc. as they're moving. And then, of course, just click on the top icon for putting it back to typical. I'm going to pull up a blank Google Doc here real quick. So some of the benefits to using Google Docs, one of the greatest benefits is the real-time collaboration. So you know that you could be working on a document at the same time as a colleague, which certainly your clients can be as well. You see the changes real time. You don't have to save a version, send it to them, have them edit it, send it back. Everyone sees the changes real time, or at the time that they're working on the document, it's added, which is still really beneficial in the workplace environment as well. Also, when we think about some of the extensions that they're typically used to using, if they've gotten accustomed to using these features in high school or college and they want to be able to use it in the workplace environment, they certainly can. And then there are those times that they say, well, I still have to send them to my colleagues as a Word doc. Everything as a Google Doc is easily converted within just a couple of seconds from a Google Doc to a Word doc and vice versa. So File, Download As, and literally just in a matter of a second, they have that saved as a Word document on their computer and can send it as an attachment as they need to. So they can still use these extensions if they're used to that support. They don't have to totally change to something else. They can use these extensions, save it as a Word doc, share it with their colleagues, share it with an instructor if they prefer a Word doc, and you can see the other formats as well, PDF, RTF, etc., that they can save. And I'm on a Windows laptop, so as soon as I save it as a document, I'm saving it to my documents or my desktop where I would typically save it. Very quick and easy. If they have Word documents that they pull into their Google Drive, it offers them the option to convert it to a Google Doc instantly. So back and forth, if they have a document that a colleague or a peer has sent them, they open it in Google Drive and it converts it to a Google Doc. And then they have the support of extensions they want to use and send it back in whatever format is preferred. So they can work back and forth in the environments, especially with the tools if they've gotten accustomed to using some of these particular tools. There are some built-in tools to every Google Doc. Word has options as well. The voice typing. The Google voice typing is actually really, really accurate as far as free speech to text. If you're using it for an assessment or if you're introducing it to someone who may be new to speech to text, using their voice to type, this is a really great option just for a free introduction for speech to text that is accurate and efficient. Whether you use a built-in microphone or you use a noise-canceling headset, it's a really great option to introduce them to this particular feature or tool. I certainly have individuals with speech impairments who you think, oh, maybe that free built-in on the iPad microphone or Google isn't going to work well for them, and it has in fact worked really well for them. I have some individuals who specifically try to speak more clear and efficiently, even with the speech impairment, so it helps to improve their speech while they're using the particular tool, and does end up being much faster than even typing with word prediction when they're able to use something like speech to text. So I'm just going to click on voice typing. Click on the microphone. Now I can use my voice to type and say things like photosynthesis or phlebotomy without worrying about spelling, period. I'm going to the store today, period. Do you need anything, question mark. New line. I can also say things like bold this, and it will bold the new text. New line. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Didn't get that one. But the voice commands that you can learn how to use, and certainly it is more accurate and efficient if you do use a noise-canceling headset, especially if you're in a noisier environment. But you can say things like bold this, italicize it, delete that. Very similar to Dragon, there are a lot of free Google commands, and they've added new ones since the particular tool has come out. And then you can also use a free text-to-speech extension to have this text read out loud if they're editing, listening for mistakes, making corrections. Yes, thank you for that reminder. So the combination of a few extensions, being able to use text-to-speech or highlighting, but also being able to use free speech-to-text. Certainly for some of our individuals with more needs, whether it's a physical disability, they need to control everything about their computer. Absolutely, Dragon, especially in the new version, is just phenomenal as far as easy to use, out of the box, built-in training now, which is great. And then also the accuracy and efficiency in being able to move your mouse with your voice or open up an internet website with your voice. So someone who needs to completely control everything about their computer, certainly the software Dragon. But for someone with just the need for typing faster, or being able to type without worrying about spelling, whether due to cognitive, grammar, learning disabilities, etc. It's a great option for free built-in. And some things to think about if you are showing someone speech to text. Oftentimes we get really excited because it can provide such great access, and we're like, oh, you really have to try speech to text. I know that this will work really well for you. And someone who has never used it before can get intimidated, maybe worry it's not going to work well for them. So some of the basic things when we're introducing a tool like this is to teach them how to use speech to text. Offer tips like you need to speak as you typically do. Whether that's fast, whether that's slow, whether that's with a speech impairment or an accent, speak as you typically do. Practice having a conversation with them, letting them see the words put on the page and how that works. Because sometimes they'll get nervous and they'll watch the screen and talk really slow. And they'll wait for it to make a mistake, and then it makes a lot of mistakes. And then they think it's a tool that's not going to work for them, and they get frustrated. So just thinking about some of those tips and tricks. Also, if they do get a nice noise-canceling headset, it doesn't have to be extremely expensive. There's some really great ones for $30 or $40 that work really well. But it can cancel out the noise around them and make it less frustrating so that it is focusing on their voice. Also not something that they need to sit in the back of the room to use. So they can certainly be at the front of the room, and you're just positioning the microphone so that everyone else is on the other side, and that noise canceling feature can block out everyone else. So they can be sitting to the right or the left and being able to use that particular tool as well. I'm going to open up another extension here. The read and write extension, I think some of you may already be familiar. It's very comprehensive and similar to the read and write software, which is available for Microsoft Word. PDF reader, there it is. Read and write, whether it's the software or the Google Chrome extension, does cost more money. It's not free because it is very comprehensive in regards to offering several tools in one toolbar. Click on the little purple puzzle piece here to pull down my toolbar. Give my page a refresh first. How are we doing on time? Okay. There we go. So there are extensions free for text-to-speech, free for word prediction, free for highlighters, free for the Visor, the mouse spotlight, and a few free web resource tools for summarizing or reducing clutter on a screen and things of that nature. So if you need all of these features separate, there are free options as far as extensions. But then that individual does need to know how to learn to use several extensions and at the same time, which can be okay if they are capable of doing that, or if they're someone who doesn't have the money to subscribe, or if that's not funded for them. Otherwise, it's offered as a yearly subscription or as software, just as a particular download if they need to be able to do that. And it does have a lot of things all in one. So if they're going to be using it in the educational or the work environment, for websites, for documents, for collaborating, memorizing, remembering information, being able to have it all in one place is a really nice option. And they do have a simplified version as well, meaning just a few features. But all of the features on the toolbar can be customized. So in the options, you can see that you can change the speech rate faster or slower. It does have translation available. You can change the different voices similar to the other tools that we've seen today. Under the prediction, you can change how many words are going to be predicted in the list as well as the size. You can increase the text size in the word prediction box, which I like. Screen masking, you can change the color and all those tools, very similar to the Visor one that I showed you. Language, of course. So if you need to change it to another language or translate, and the features. So this has really great free text-to-speech with the highlighting, with a natural sounding voice. And even after the 30-day trial, so students or adults can have a 30-day trial, anyone that works for any educational system, K through 12, higher ed, or tech environment can have it for free if they just have an educational email. Some campuses, if you are working with learners who are in higher ed, a lot of campuses across the country offer it for free for all learners, not just students with disabilities, just based on paying tuition. So it's always a great question for them to ask if they are searching for different schools. The text-to-speech, even after the 30-day trial, stays free. So even if you want a really good, high-quality, natural-sounding voice with the highlighting, this is still a great free option. And so you can see here, you can turn off the other features if they're not using them, if you need to customize the toolbar, or even if it's just because they're only going to use the text-to-speech afterwards. They don't have to see those other features or have them on the toolbar. So you do have the option to have the information read out loud. The hover speech I like because you can click on the bubble and then just move the mouse where you want it to begin speaking. Someone doesn't have to worry about fine motor skills to highlight the text and continue to highlight the text to have it read. You can pause it where it's at, stop it, of course, so if you need to reflect or highlight or write anything down, or you can stop the speech completely. There are features here which are really great for PDFs. I will pull up a PDF afterwards and show you the tools in a Google Doc as well. But as far as a PDF online that they find online as they're reading, maybe it's on a website and they need to have that information read out loud, it's an inaccessible PDF. That screenshot reader will read that information, which is really important. Graphs, maps, things that have visuals, on websites, but again, the text is not accessible and typically can't be read out loud with text-to-speech. The screenshot reader will do that instant OCR and read that information out loud to them as well. The highlighter is certainly great for collecting and organizing information. So if they typically have a difficult time reading and then writing information down that they need to remember, again, whether in a document or on a website or any other place that they might be working collaboratively with someone, the highlighters are really great to be able to use. Highlight the text first and then choose a color. And I'm just going to put the microphone down just to take a few examples. Whoa. Not too much there. That was a giant highlight. Now having the different colors is really great for organizing their thoughts. So you can see how they might be just using two colors to compare two different things, or they might be separating by category or topic depending on what they are highlighting. But they don't have to write it all down, and then they can collect these highlights. And when you collect them, you can sort them by color, which means it will put my yellows together, my blues together, my greens together, help you to organize those thoughts before writing a report, perhaps. So it does take these highlights and it puts them all into a fresh document. My giant yellow one. And you can see that it organized them by color and then also gives me a link to get back to the resource where I got these highlights so that if they happen to forget, they can get back to that particular resource very quickly. Now, something about the highlights that I always show my users is they do pull in as highlights untitled. You don't want to have a lot of untitled documents that you can't get back to. So one of the things I do teach them is to make sure they name their highlights, whether it's putting the topic or subject or maybe adding a date to it as well. And the Google Docs automatically save for them. That's a really great thing for a lot of our individuals who won't remember to save a document, maybe won't remember to name it. If they don't save it, how much work they've lost and how frustrating that can be for them. So being able to use something like Google Docs where it keeps track of their changes ongoing as they're using it and saves automatically. It's not something that they need to remember to do, and they can get back to it later very quickly also. You can see the puzzle piece is also available within the document to provide some of that, the supportive features if they're writing. So if they are typing within a document, I'm just going to move my cursor here. Turn off my highlighter. I can use word prediction. So again, this is the read and write engine, similar to the keyboard one for the iPad. It does predict phonetically and contextually. So as I'm typing, predicting phonetically and contextually, and if I can't read those words, I use the mouse to hover over the words to listen to them out loud. Then hear the word they want and put it into their document by clicking on it, or they can hit the control and the number key that goes or is associated with that particular word as well. Read and Write does have the built-in speech-to-text, but it is essentially the same engine, talk and type, the same engine that's built into Google or Word as far as the speech-to-text. If you need access to PDFs, you can pull in documents from Google Drive or other places that you may have them saved. If you're using the Google version, you would be using the Google Drive to pull in the PDFs that you may have scanned, have done the OCR, and then you have the toolbar to be able to listen to those documents, type into them with word prediction, speak into them, very similar to what we did with Claro PDF Pro, but using Read and Write. So it just depends on the particular device that your user may be using, whether it's a laptop or an iPad, that there is access to worksheets, documents, being able to listen to them, being able to type into them, speak into them if they need that particular access in the workplace environment as well. Can clear your highlights either by re-highlighting them, sweeping them away, or simply a refresh on the page as well. Just remember that when you do the refresh, it hasn't saved your previous highlights if you didn't save them first. We're going into our lunchtime here in just about 3 minutes. So are there any particular questions about any of the extensions that I showed? Any questions about Google Doc versus Word Doc? Yep.
So I haven't tried this in the recent past, but in the past I've had some problems with the conversion from Google Docs or from other formats into DocX. Okay. It's not that it doesn't convert, all the words are there, but the formatting often gets screwed up. Have you noticed that that is still a problem for you, or that certain formatting is an issue?
If you're trying to convert a Word doc to a Google Doc or Google Doc to Word doc, I haven't seen an issue as far as formatting. PDF is where I've seen an issue with formatting. So if you try and convert a PDF and pull it in as a Google Doc, then I've seen the formatting change, and I would use OCR instead. But when I'm converting from just a Google Doc to Word doc, or even PowerPoint to Google Slides to PowerPoint, I did that with yours. I do all of my PowerPoint presentations in Google Slides first, and then I hit download as PowerPoint, and I send it to you as a PowerPoint, unless you prefer it as a Google Slide, and it doesn't change the format at all. So it goes back and forth. In regards to Google Sheets, that's the same as Excel. So if they do a Google Sheet, and you use some of the add-ons and tools or extensions while they're filling out a Google Sheet, like a on-screen calculator, and then they convert it to a spreadsheet, that converts very nicely as well. But I have seen the formatting change when you try and do PDF to a Google Doc. So that one I wouldn't recommend. When I'm getting PDFs with the OCR as an accessible document first to use with any of these extensions, I typically use that Adobe Scan app. I'll sign into mine as we're going into our lunch break so I can pull up Adobe Scan afterwards so you can see that real-time OCR. And it's free. So if you scan any document with Adobe Scan, save it wherever you want. You can pull it in on a laptop as well. You don't just have to pull it in on an iPad. And it does that free, accurate OCR. Any other questions? I think everyone's probably just got rumbly tumblies.